Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. You know what it is. All right, you guys. As I said before, I'm not gonna really go in on Oscar De La Hoya because Oscar De La Hoya, recovering from an illness and shit. So I'm gonna be cool with Oscar De La Hoya. But at the end of the day, I am going to, basically commentate off something that he said earlier when he did a live stream, I guess, on Instagram. Now, Oscar De La Hoya was just talking about himself. He was talking about the future and all this kind of stuff. He's saying he wants to rematch with Floyd Mayweather. He says he has $100 billion. Floyd Mayweather, from what I heard, he said he'll do it. He said Oscar just got to show proof of funds. So Floyd said he's willing to do it. So we'll see. Like I said, I'll accept the Floyd versus Oscar De La Hoya rematch. You know what I'm saying? Keep in mind, Bernard Hopkins boxed till he was 50. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, Oscar touched on, a variety of different things. Like I said, from, him making a return to boxing. He still plans on making a return to boxing. And, basically the future of Golden Boy Promotions. And he basically talked about, an up-and-coming fighter or up-and-coming superstar possibly that he has in Virgil Ortiz. Now, keep in mind, Oscar is Virgil Ortiz promoter, so it's Oscar's job to speak highly of the fighter that he promotes. Now, with that being said, Oscar De La Hoya said that Terrence Crawford is avoiding Virgil Ortiz, which I don't believe. Keep in mind, at one time, well, actually, Virgil Ortiz is the current #1 contender, if I'm not mistaken, for the WBO. So he is a mandatory, but they elevated Sean as a mandatory because they couldn't work out a deal earlier, but they have a deal in place. The fight is going to take place November 20th in Las Vegas at the Mandalay Bay. Now, look, I don't believe for a second Terrence Crawford is ducking Virgil Ortiz because according to Team Crawford, they offered him a fight and they turned it down. Now, based off who you believe, it is what it is. But I don't think for a second Terrence Crawford is ducking Virgil Ortiz. At the end of the day, that should be a fight they should pursue next for Terrence Crawford. I think that would be a great fight for Terrence Crawford. Not only I think Terrence Crawford should consider Virgil Ortiz as his next opponent, I would even consider, if I was Bud, going to fight him in Dallas, because he's from the Dallas area, if I'm not mistaken. So why not? Why not go to Dallas, fight him in Dallas, and then defeat him in Dallas? Because at the end of the day, it's all about selling tickets. It's all about making money. I think that'll be another pay-per-view worthy fight. I think people would tune in to watch that fight because you already know that people going to think just because Virgil Ortiz is Hispanic that automatically means he going to win until he loses the fight or gets knocked out. Then they're going to say, or loses the fight and get knocked out. And then they're going to see Ortiz wasn't ready. He was green. Because, it's always excuses when the brother wins. But, it is what it is. I still would like to see that fight made. I do think that should be Terrence Crawford's next fight. But, yeah, I'm sorry, Oscar. I'm not buying what you're selling. Because at the end of the day, Ortiz could have exercised his mandatory, and they could have tried to get a deal in place. Or they could do the same thing. Try to see, could they do work a deal, get something figured out. And then if you can't get something figured out, go to a purse bid. But Oscar, he need to have his bluff called. So if Virgil Ortiz really wants to smoke with Bud, okay, well, depending on what happens with Bud and Sean Porter, if, Bud defeats Sean Porter, then that should be the next fight. And, hey, vice versa. On the flip side, what if Sean Porter wins the fight? And if Sean wins, I think Virgil Ortiz would be a great fight for Sean. I think Sean could beat Virgil Ortiz. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, this is your boy Tail Biz. I am out.